Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, welcome to this episode about keeping some of your most important benefits into retirement as a FERS federal employee. So buckle up, it's going to be a great ride today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Dan Haas. I'm a financial planner serving you as federal employees, getting the most out of your retirement and being comfortable and confident as you transition into the good life, right? Let's dive in. I got a question today from one of you folks. If you want to submit a question, there is a link below to do so. They asked, hey, I have insurance. Excuse me, I'm talking too fast here. They say, I have an insurance retirement question. Are there only certain insurances we can take in retirement, or are all the choices we had while working still available to us in retirement? Long story short, while you're working, you have access to tons of great insurance, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, dental, vision, long-term care. You have access to lots of different insurance. However, in retirement, you still have all those options. What about for some of them? What about for others? We're going to dive into that today. Long story short, the answer is it depends. Every type of insurance, whether it's health, life, etc., has different rules on whether you can keep it into retirement or not, if you can enroll in retirement or not. So let's dive right in. Let's start with the most important. So the most important and most valuable tends to be the health insurance, because the government pays such a large portion of it for you. If you're paying, let's say, $300 a month, the government's probably paying $1,000 a month. They pay a lot of money for you to have the health insurance at the cost that you have it, okay? Long story short, to keep health insurance into retirement, this is what you have to do. First things first, you have to be eligible to retire with an immediate retirement, okay? A type of retirement where you can get a pension right away. Those sort of retirements, which I've got tons of videos on what an immediate retirement is. But long story short, as a FERS federal employee, non-special provisions, generally speaking, you have to hit your MRA, your minimum retirement age, which is between 56 and 57, with at least 30 years, or age 60 with 20 years of service, or 62 with 5. Now, if you are at your MRA, basically between 56 and 57, or older, and you only have 10 years, you can still keep your health insurance, but you will have some reductions to your pension, which I talk about in an MRA plus 10 retirement video. You can check that out later. Long story short, if you're eligible for an immediate retirement, that is one of the first requirements to keep your health insurance. Requirement number 2, you got to be covered under your FEHB for the 5 continuous years before retirement, okay? So for example, if you're retiring this year, the previous 5 years, you got to be covered under your FEHB. If you took a break where part of that time you say, hey, look, my spouse is working for Apple, and Apple has some great insurance that while they're working, they pay for all of it and it's free. Okay, great. I'm going to jump over there. Well, that's fine. But if you're not covered under FEHB for the 5 years before retirement, you can't keep FEHB into retirement. Okay. Now there's a couple exceptions. Exception number 1, let's say your spouse is also a federal employee. What if they had the health insurance and they had a self+1 or family plan that you were on? Does that count? The answer is yes. As long as you're covered under FEHB at all, right? It doesn't matter if you have the coverage, if your spouse has the coverage, doesn't matter. As long as you're covered, then you're going to be good to go to cover those 5 years into retirement. Exception number 2 is if you have TRICARE. If you have TRICARE, that can fill the gap for your FEHB. So let's do an example. If you're on TRICARE, let's say the 5 years before you retire, the first of those 5 years, or the first 4 of those 5 years, you had TRICARE, and then you also jumped on FEHB the last year. In that situation, you'd still be eligible to take your FEHB into retirement because TRICARE can fulfill that requirement. But the one caveat is you got to have FEHB by the time you retire to be able to keep it into retirement in that situation. So hopefully that makes sense. So that is the health insurance. Those are the rules on keeping health insurance into retirement. Let's jump to the next most popular, and that is life insurance, FEGLI, okay? FEGLI. What are the rules to keep FEGLI into retirement? Now, whether or not you want to keep FEGLI into retirement, that's a different question. The rules are complex. I've got a whole video. Go back to my website, haasfederaladvisors.com. Up at the top, you can basically search through all the videos done, which is hundreds of videos and articles about all different topics, and finds the topics that are most important to you. So if you search by FEGLI, you can definitely find some of the best articles on whether you should be keeping FEGLI or if it's just a lot of extra money that you're spending, thousands of dollars a year you're spending on something that you may or may not need. So keep that in mind. But if you did want to keep it, here are the rules. Number 1, again, you have to retire with an immediate retirement and you got to be covered under FEGLI for the 5 years before retirement. Okay, so it's very similar to the requirements that you have with FEHB. So keep that in mind. Okay, again, most people that I work with tend to not need much life insurance moving into retirement, but you can definitely check that out. I don't cancel it just because I said that, right? Make sure it makes sense for you before you cancel anything. Next, dental and vision insurance, or FED-VIP, okay? Dental and vision insurance. To keep that into retirement, all you have to do is retire with an immediate retirement. That is, again, the same type of retirement that would make you eligible for FEGLI and for your health insurance. As long as you retire with an immediate retirement, which again, I'm gonna repeat it, at your MRA, that's at least 30 years of service, at age 60, at least 20, at age 62, at least 5. Now, if you hit your MRA and you have at least 10, you can retire right away with an immediate retirement. Your pension is going to have issues though. But you could, as long as you have at least 10, you can keep these insurances, okay? You can keep these insurances. Okay, perfect. But for dental and vision, the one difference is there's no 5-year rule. You don't have to be covered under dental and vision for the 5 years before retirement if you don't want to. There's a lot more flexibility on the dental and vision than compared to FEHB and life insurance, okay? Now, lastly, but not leastly, is long-term care. Now, if you haven't been up to date on this, a few probably weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I did a video that the government is suspending their long-term care insurance program. Now, if you already have a policy, you don't have to worry. They're not going to take that away. But for new applicants, you would not be able to get it through the government, through your job. Now, you can still shop around outside the government for long-term care insurance if you want to. I would go check out my videos on long-term care because odds are you may not need it. You may need it, but you may not. And before you buy a policy that's going to cost you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars across your lifetime, you want to make sure it makes sense for you, okay? Long story short, the long-term care is one of the most flexible pieces. As long as you have long-term care, let's say you have a long-term care insurance policy through the government, you can take that at any time. It doesn't matter when you leave the government. It's fully portable. You can take it with you. All you have to do is keep paying the premiums, no matter where you're at, no matter if you're retired, working, whatever. You can take that with you. There's really no requirement to be able to keep that into retirement other than you have it, right? If you have it, just keep paying the premiums and you're good to go. So those are the types of insurance and how to keep them into retirement. If you have any follow-up questions, put in the comments below. We definitely look at the comments to make sure we are covering the most important topics for you guys in our future content. So I hope that's helpful. Have an incredible rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.